Uno, a family gaming classic. I remember the day I became enraged over a loss in this children's card game to my cousins. You could murder my parents today in cold blood and I would still hold more disdain over Uno than the premeditated murderer. Ever since that day, I've sworn to dominate any game of Uno I play. Today we'll be punting 12-year-old Uno players into a circular stable orbit by optimizing the game of Uno. Welcome to the second episode of sucking all of the fun out of games we love. This is Maximization. For those of you who don't have loving parents, Uno is a conduit to unleash your pent-up familiar rage by skipping your opponent's turns over and over again, watching gleefully as the light in their eyes fades to darkness. In essence, Uno is a turn-based strategic card game where the objective is to empty your hand while sabotaging your friends and family. There are several rule sets and special cards, but for today's video, we'll just be using the base rules and deck set of Uno, completely vanilla just like God intended. Each player is dealt a hand of 7 with an assortment of cards containing numbers and colors. Wow. When a card is played, you must either match the number or the color. For example, here you can see I have no legal moves left, so I draw a card. The card I drew happens to be a red 9, which matches the number on the card stack. Since the base rule set allows me to play a card drawn by volition, I play my red 9 and change the active color to red. Besides gating when you can change the color, numbers don't really do anything else, unless you play multiple games, in which case you can use them as a scoring device, but score doesn't matter if you always win. Alongside number cards, there are also 5 different kinds of action cards, broken up into 2 classifications, color independent and color dependent. The 3 color dependent action cards are skip cards that skip the turn of the next player, reverse cards which change the direction of play, and draw 2 cards which makes the next player draw 2 and skips their turn. The 2 color independent action cards are the base wild card, which changes its color to your choosing, and the draw 4 wild card, which not only changes the color but makes the next player draw 4 and skips their turn. The only downside to the draw 4 wild card is that in the base rule set, if you play this card while you have another legal move and your opponent challenges that card, meaning they call the draw 4 into question, you reveal your hand and one of 2 things happens next. If you have no other possible moves, the challenger draws 6 and has their turn skipped. But if you had a legal move, you have to draw 4 instead. Other niche rules include having to say Uno with 1 card left in hand, otherwise someone can call you out and make you draw 2 cards. Another rule is, if the first card revealed at the start of the game is a non-draw 4 action card, its special effect applies. Oh, also if the game is played one-on-one, reverse cards act as skip cards, but we're not going to be playing one-on-one today. Now I know most people have house rules, like your turn isn't skipped after a draw 2, draw 4 wild cards can't be challenged, and if you would draw 2 or 4 from an action card, you can lay down another action card of the same type to compound the effect onto the next player. But we won't be using these better rules for this challenge, mainly because I'm broke and can't afford the $10. Now that the rule set's been covered, it's time for data and numbers. There are a total of 108 cards, of which 76 are numbered, 24 are colored actions, and the remaining 8 are wild action cards. Of the non-wild cards, there are 2 copies of each number and action card for each color, except for 0 for whatever reason. Why am I bringing up the number of cards in the deck? To help us understand a classic game card technique. I'm talking about card reading. The technique works by counting all of the cards revealed through gameplay, along with what cards remain in the deck and other players' hands. We use that data to infer the probabilities of card types the opponent may hold. This technique was originally designed for a card game called Contract Bridge, but we'll be stealing this for our Uno gameplay to skew the odds in our favor. To not blow my brains out, manually calculating the probabilities every turn for every game, I'm going to code a card counting algorithm. Unfortunately, I still don't know how to do this, but my code looks better than before, so you know I'm improving. With 3 hours down the drain and no possibility of the program working, I have to manually determine the probabilities of each card in the opponent's hand every turn for every game. Oh god. But before we do that, how do we apply this information to win? The game of Uno can be looked at as card advantage. Card advantage in Uno can be understood as a positive number associated to the advantages the card generates for you, aka skipping turns and making your opponent draw. Each card has an inherent card advantage of 1, as when played it reduces your hand size by 1. The card in Uno with the highest card advantage is the Draw 4 Wild, which makes your opponent draw 4 cards and skips their turn and changes its color to your choosing, making it a +7 card in value that can be played at any time. You would think that the numbered cards suck, but Uno cards don't have a fixed card advantage, meaning that this seemingly base 1 advantage number card can actually be several times higher than we initially expect. This is because if playing this card causes our opponent to be unable to play, it acts like a draw 1 and can also skip your opponent's turn, making it a +2 or +3. This is where our card counting technique comes into play, because if we know the chances are low that our opponent doesn't have a red, we can tune our gameplay strategy to maximize our card advantage. In this case, I was unlucky. To briefly demonstrate, I'll be counting cards in Excel, the most interesting and entertaining of the data processing tools. Here you can see the section where I'll be inputting what cards are played, followed by a section showing the percentages for each color and type, and lastly a section for when I gather information about another player's hand. To determine if my newly found strategy works, I first gathered a baseline of what my win rate is. After 10 games, I had a win rate of 30%. This terrible performance made me want to hurl myself off the edge of my university's math department building. Honestly, 10 trials isn't a large enough sample size to establish scientific significance, but my newfound technique seems like an effective method to increase our odds of winning. But I'm not expecting much. I would be happy with a 40 to 50% win rate. There's no way that this could go wrong, right? Right? Roll the clip. Alright, I'm super excited to try this new method for Uno gameplay. Since I couldn't code an algorithm, my turns are taking up a lot of time, so I have to play against the AIs. Okay, so we're at a dangerous point in the first game, but my math says 2 is the best number to play, so... Oh. Well that's alright, we can still secure a good score on to game 2. Alright, so it's super likely for them to have a 1 according to this math here, so... No. No. Please. Please. Please.